Well, hello, SPAC friends and family. It is shortly after 2 o'clock here on the West Coast, and it's Tuesday. So, it must be time for SPAC Chat. And we are back today with our top rated speaker from SPAC 2024. Just a couple months ago, this guy packed the house. Super excited to have him with him. Now, he is in the process of traveling, so we're all going to have to be a little understanding when it comes to Wi-Fi signals, and you all know how that can be. But we are so excited to have him here. Also, a few notifications for you. The scholarship for the Young Creative Senior Scholarship for senior high school seniors is live. It's open. We'll be updating our marketing information because we have great news. And that great news is that Sony has partnered with us, and they will be also giving a camera and kit to every single scholarship recipient. And so we are going to rebrand our marketing out there and add Sony's name and a picture of the camera as well for you all to use. Now, please note at the very bottom of that flyer, we left some intentional empty space. It's not because we don't know what we're doing. It is because in case you are the one delivering that flyer to that high school senior and asking them to apply, it's so that you can put your contact information, your name, your company name, because we do ask every single recipient how they heard about the scholarship. And if it's your name, we're going to work with you on you presenting the camera and the check and a good photo opportunity in your local market so people know who you are, because together we are stronger. Okay, enough about that. There is more information on the website about that. I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to bring to the stage our host, Calvin Harrell.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of SPAC Chat. Corey already let you know. Hey, Corey, we got to work on that video, though, because my eyes are playing games on me. I'm thinking you're out of focus. We got to get that speed up on there. But I'm so excited. Also, Lance Sullivan gave a seminar or a session on the willingness to adapt. And adaptability is at the core of everything that we do as photographers working in the industry, with schools, with sports organizations, and that sort of thing, because we have to move on the fly. One of the things I find is a challenge on a personal level is for staff is their inability to have the flexibility necessary to succeed on the job, on the day of the job. We really have to educate them that it's not cookie cutter as they perceive it to be. We have to constantly adapt. So let's get Lance on here and let's have a conversation so that he can share with us some of the stuff that he had. And I understand that he's in a limited communications area. He's on a ferry right now. So let's bear with it and we'll fill in the gaps if we lose contact. Hello, Lance. How are you?
I'm awesome, man. How are you?
We're well. I heard you killed it at SPAC, man. Standing room only. They were sitting on the floor and coming out the door. If we would have only known, we'd have given you a bigger space, and hopefully you'll you'll apply again to be a speaker. And certainly you were ranked very, very high, so you'd probably be there. Yeah, man.
Yeah, a lot of gratitude, man. We didn't expect that. I know we were kind of just like elated all day, man. Our staff was super stoked and really, really grateful for everybody who just sort of picked our brain in the speakers lounge area afterwards. And yeah, we're definitely wanting to bring something to the table next year too. So thank you for having us.
Outstanding, man. So talk to us about in this discussion that we're going to have today, talks to us about the challenges of being adaptable and the requirement, because while there's challenges, it's an absolute requirement for anybody that's going to succeed in this or any other industry. So why don't you walk us through that?
Yeah. So, I mean, years ago when I first started down this process, so, I mean, I've been doing photography for 26 years now. And about 13 or so years ago, a gentleman who worked for my lab who kind of introduced me to stuff was like, you've got to do it this way. And then I just kept thinking in my head, this doesn't seem right. And then a lot of companies were going online and stuff was moving towards online, removing the the sort of paper trail from doing a lot of orders. And for me to keep my business small and to keep my staff overhead low, the biggest thing was, how am I going to adapt to what's out there through automation? How can we create systems where the systems will complement how we want to continually growing the studio, but not add expenses on the back end, like staffing or packaging rooms or anything like that. So we just really never gave up, and we've just stuck with our software providers and with our local labs. And over the last 2 years, we slowed down on acquiring more contracts to focus on systems. And that's where the whole willingness to adapt, lots of conversation post-conference, even through communicating with me through email and phone calls, we're like, how did you get rid of the paper? And we're like, we just gave it up one day. And it just brought back a lot of our life quality, which is huge, right? I mean, I just don't want to be married to sitting in front of a computer anymore.
That makes perfect sense. Adaptability, and I've seen it over a career to extreme levels. When we switched from when we were making a transition from film to the digital realm, our digital world. And when the camera pricing dropped to what I would define as affordable, when the camera pricing dropped is when we jumped in feet first, literally, without a whole lot of testing and everything else. And it was, we can't do this. Yes, we can. This is a solid account. We'll keep the account even if we screw up. Let's get going. And we started and haven't looked back yet. So
there's so many tools, Calvin, like there's so many amazing tools. And I think a lot of us, for me, I want everything and I kind of want it right away. But, sticking with whoever your provider is and, providing feedback and whatnot. I think where we were at 2 years ago at a SPAC and where we are now with AI and glass glare removal or extraction quality, we are so far, even in the last 2 years, to where we were. I think this is amazing for us. So it's just really willing to kind of, like I said in the talk, is get over yourself and really, if you're frozen in your business and if you're not growing or if you're just, sitting there till 11 o'clock at night, it's like find ways to welcome new opportunity through software, through things that are smarter than us and work way faster than us, right? And certainly it comes with a bit of a cost, but I think in the world now, it's just more health and wellness too is so important. And what is that costing me if I'm sitting in front of my computer all the time?
Absolutely. Well, and as a business owner, you have to calculate what is your value on an hourly basis or a salary basis compared to someone you can hire to do that job. If you are the one, I mean, yes, certainly we could take trash out. We could mop the floors. We could, dust the walls. But a housekeeper or a janitorial that comes in and does it for, X amount, is my rate is that where I want to value myself? So, retouching at $1 an image or 6 cents an image or whatever it is. Do I really need to do this work when I can get it done cheaper than what my hourly rate would be? I think that's critical. When we talk about
that's huge.
Yeah, and when we talk about the adaptability, it's funny how we are so enamored with equipment and tools and that sort of thing. We jump on adapting to a new camera came out and we learn everything we can about it. Although the camera we have is working perfectly fine, does everything we need to do. Let's go this direction, etc. Same thing with software. I've watched as some editing is going on in our office with the use of generative fill. Some people don't want to adapt because they're afraid, but then you walk over and say, just let it do it. You have the original images. You can go backwards if you make a mistake. So adapting, it's really, we have to frame our minds in what is the environment that we're afraid of. What are we afraid of in the adaptation of anything that we do?
Change, right? Nobody likes change.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Fair
absolutely
enough.
nobody likes change. I mean, for me, I also partnered with my lab. So in order to work in a very small space, I partnered with my lab in Canada, and it's like I actually subsidize part of the shipping out of every order. Um, my clients pay shipping, but I actually subsidize, but I ship all of my sticker mailer labels out to the lab, and they just handle everything. And I maybe got 15 orders back for the wrong address last year, and I maybe replaced 10 orders because they got ruined in like the mail, or they got ruined from like the rain. But it's like I didn't have to buy envelopes and storage space and pay a wage in order to just send out mailers.
Hey, you didn't post on Facebook about the fact that you had an order returned or the post office did a bad job? The thought.
I just know that that's my biggest downfall in
It
my
just
studio.
happens. Right.
And I think the biggest thing too in this willingness to adapt is really the willingness to kind of admit where you're really struggling at, giving up the reins in your business and be like, I'm not good at this. And really, we tried to say in our talk, like, identify your roles and have those check-ins every 3 months. Like, are you still enjoying this part of your job? If you're not, let's find an outsource, let's find somebody else, or I'll go back to doing it until we find somebody. So it was me getting over my ego that I needed to touch or approve or look at every single piece of the business. And with AI, I don't even think when something needs to be retouched, because it goes up, comes back in, goes to the lab prints it, the next day it's being shipped out. It's like, to me, that is perfect. But I used to want to micromanage everything, and really that willingness to take a step back, and also with your staff, they really love to be given the reins or the ropes to the horses to say, we think that this is a great idea. And for me to support them in that. And that was a real shift for us.
No question. No question. Staff shifts, staff mental space, where they are.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things you have to remove from the equation for people, and that means for us as business owners too, is the fact that the only way you have any progress is by taking the risk of making a mistake. You cannot get where you're going and think that the road is, it's kind of like I referenced the stock market, and we've watched it. Sure, it's in it's in a positive trajectory, but it goes up and down and up and down and up and down, and it's just a pattern and a path. And everything that we do in life actually may not follow precisely what's going on there, but the example for a graphing purpose will absolutely be there. There are subject matter that we're going to have full understanding of. There's subject matter that we're going to struggle in. That's just the way it works. So adapting is critical.
Yeah, and you know what, Calvin? Everybody wants to be a part of something. I think at the core of everybody's personal value is like, we always want to be seen, we want to be accepted, we want to be part of a team. And the minute that you just kind of, or a business owner comes in and they just start roughhousing everything and doing everything else, then to me, it just doesn't make sense, right?
No, it doesn't make sense. Corey, you had something there?
I'm just giggling because Lance has the Apple phone. And so whenever he does this or he does this, these little emojis comes up. And right now your phone thinks, no, actually your phone thinks it's pointing down. So Calvin's like, what was that?
Right.
And I'm laughing.
I'm glad
I have one question for you, Lance. It's coming in from, actually I got an email, this question. So I guess this person is watching and decided to email. I couldn't bring it over, but they wanted to know, when getting your team on board to change, what steps have been helpful to get them to be on that same train with you?
I don't really have to get them on board. I'm kind of like the child in the studio. I'm kind of the messy one. I'm the one that I'm sort of like the squirrel that goes everywhere, and I want to try things. I also bounce. You know what, Corey? I actually include them in a lot of the decision making. So right from the beginning, like, I don't believe walking in and saying, "Okay, this is how we're going to do it." I don't believe that really works anymore. for myself, I walk in and say, look, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to bounce the ideas. What are, what are the opportunities? What are the threats? And I include them at a base level in it. I just don't walk in the door and be like, hey, this is going to be new. I really include them right from the beginning of, like when we left SPAC, we sat in the airport, we've had meetings, and we still talk about some of the things that we want to bring to the studio. And I also am like, how are you feeling? Like, do you feel like we can bring this into the market right now? And they're like, why don't we wait until the summer, until it's our downtime, and then we can research it more? And I'm like, I appreciate it. That's
Wow.
my interpretation of them going, we got too much on our plate with grads, with proms, with seniors, with sports. So let's not add more to the pile right now. Let's just come back to this. And maybe we'll go back to SPAC next year and we still haven't done it, but I know that it's in our back pocket, right?
It's funny that sometimes we have to listen to our staff, our team, to put the brakes on, because we want to move, faster, farther, faster. Where they say, hold on, pump the brakes a little bit here.
Yeah. The big thing, Calvin, that the big thing that I'm kind of trying to take away from stuff too, and all of this is like, what is enough? For me, like, how much more do I want to add to the pile? How many more heads do I want to shoot? Because I mean, as an owner, I need to literally be what is enough for me and my staff. And because I don't, I call it the golden handcuff. I build a studio to be 3 to 5 to 7 million. It's like, when is enough? Then I'm just bringing bodies in and I'm making things a lot more complex. And I got into this industry to have fun. I don't need to be handcuffed to my desk. So those are just my own choices.
No, and they're great choices because they work for whom? You. That's the opportunity.
Like they work for the small business guy. I mean, I've always been transparent, even in my talk, right? Like we're about $500,000 a year studio. We're not huge, but we're a fair size for 2.5 people, and everybody's happy. Everybody's got enough. We have, we're growing slowly. We don't want to grow too big, too fast. And we're just always refining the processes. So
we talk about AOV, average order value. I talk about AOP, average order per person in a dang school, because that's more important to me. To know what the people are actually buying, not the average order. That's a different thing. In this scenario, boy, that's a frame of thought that just wiped away. Boy, I'm getting forgetful. In this scenario, the average revenue per employee. What's the number of employees you have? What's the total revenue? What's the amount of money you're generating per employee? And that gives you a good scale to see things as well.
Yeah. And, I'm looking into now saying, okay, what is the profit at the end of the year? I'm even looking at talking to our software to say, who is shooting really well, whose photos are converting to orders. We have something fun in the studio where for every school, whoever gets the first order, we're pretty much ringing the bell, and they're the ones who end up getting the first drink at the end of the day, because it's, you just kind of got to make it exciting, like as soon as we hear that like little order bell go off, we like look at it and I'm like, is it Christy? Is it Jackie? Is it me? Is it our part-time guy, Brody? And, we just like to celebrate that. So it's just about putting the fun back in instead of just being like constantly pushing more. And then your staff is burnt out. And even when they go home and share with their partners, it's like, how was your day? And it's like, oh my God, man, like my boss just grinded me all day, where I know that their partners are always like, how was your day? And they're like, it was so much fun.
It's funny. And it's something that we, especially that have been around a while, we have to learn to adapt to the mindset and the psychology of the people that we're bringing on board nowadays, people that are coming in.
100%. Yeah.
We have to deliver messaging in a different way. I heard something recently in a talk show where it spoke to this was in a relationship show, and I just happened to find it and I just listened. But it happened to be how a woman talks to a man, or a man talks to a child nowadays. A man talks to a young man. An older man talks to a young man. The young man was brought up in a woman's household, so the women talk differently to their children. When they get out into the workforce, a man talking to the young man as a man is almost construed as being mean or disrespectful because they don't like the directness, perhaps sometimes.
Well, there's a huge generational gap in who we're kind of hiring now. I mean,
Yes.
like the way, and the way that I was coached, let's say in business and life, from my hockey coaches is so different, and it doesn't motivate. It's I like to call it righteous indignation. I think there's a lot of owners out there that have, this is a very, off cuff, but it's like, I think that there are some owners, and used to be me, where I had righteous indignation, where it's my way, this is the way it is. And I found that what that did, though, too, Calvin, is it made everybody come to me, and they were constantly fearful of doing anything. Now I am the first one to be like, I don't know what I'm doing today. I'm just overwhelmed. Can somebody even make a decision for me? So I'm actually admitting where my faults are, and that's where that willingness is just to be, recognize that generationally things are different. And I believe, it's okay to say when we're not okay. And yet the ego gets in the way, and it's very much like, no, 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 I got it all. So I think there's a lot of learning, not just in the world of photography, but also I think we spoke about in our talk about just being authentic with your staff and letting them know when you're really struggling with something, and allowing them to see into your own personal life a little bit more too.
I don't disagree with you at all. I don't disagree with you at all. One of the things that we've adopted is the idea that when there is a problem or a challenge that comes up, don't bring it to me. Bring me the solution. Once you have a solution in mind, come to me, and I'll give you the thumbs up, thumbs down, or modify it. I don't want to go from the bottom to the end of it. I don't need to start at ground zero.
Yeah. And there's a lot of ownership in that. And then when somebody can actually walk away, and you're like, you know what? I appreciate you so much. I appreciate how much depth that you've put into bringing this to me. It gives them a sense of purpose, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Money is one piece of collateral, but accepting people and loving your staff and acknowledging people's different ways is a huge part, I think, that can really help your studio grow, right? And then everybody has fun because they're a part of it.
So what is your take on, we have a real transition of a lot of people moving into the volume space. They may not be doing any significant volume, but if they're doing 5 schools, that's volume to them if they've never done any. You know how that works. So what is your take on the
this kind of reminds me of
the mindset shift that they have to make to be successful in this industry, in the adapting?
Well, I'm grateful that I've been I think I will speak only for myself, that I felt that I was going to come in and I was going to be this 4 to 5 light portrait artist, and I was going to do it differently, and I was going to slay everybody's business away. But I quickly learned that I am no different than Coke or Pepsi, and I was humbled. And I was like, I'm going to take it back to traditional. I'm not going green screen. Well, that changed after the first year. So there was a little bit of humble pie served my way. And for us, we really, I would say, just don't come in and try and think that you're going to change a historical industry that has been the traditional yearbook or portrait. You're not really going to change much. That's always going to be there. I think it's the opportunities that you might be able to spin off of, on different types of just different ways of getting more volume in front of you. It kind of reminds me of like when I went from medium format to 35, how many wedding photographers came out, and then 35 to digital. There was so many wedding photographers, and there's only, out of our town, there's probably 50 photographers, but 2 of us have hung in there. So you're going to go through those ebbs and flows. And, we lost two schools this year. And I've had to say to my staff, this is out of our control. We're not going to get upset. We're just going to work really hard at, working on how we work with our schools, and we're going to approach them next year. So, just really being humbled by the people who do use you and don't think that you're going to come in and change this industry or do anything different,
No, you're not. It's done now today the same way it was done in the 1980s. Believe me, it hasn't changed, and that's a good thing. We've had to adapt and change, of course.
Yeah, man.
Because of sales,
I tell you, I was
patterns and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corey, you had one?
I was just going to say, I know Lance's time is ending soon, so I want to jump on with my number one question. Lance, what was your experience at SPAC, and what was one of the biggest takeaways for you?
As a speaker or as an attendee?
As an attendee. You did amazing as a speaker. We can obviously see that. As an attendee, as a person who put some time in.
Yeah, so for me, it was showing up and being vulnerable this year. And it was me going in differently, willing to talk to people because I didn't, I dressed differently until my presentation from my photo so that I could just meet and connect with people. My takeaway was just the amount of sharing and caring and authenticity from people when I just would sit and have a drink or sit and have tea with them. It was almost validation that I need to go to SPAC every year and be willing to look at every fault that I feel that I may have so that I can go there to get the right support from a room full of amazing people. I kind of go there with a little bit of a list of things that I want to learn, and I'm not happy until I sort of turn over every rock. I love the social and I love the hospitality suites, but I'll sit for hours in that trade show and just grind people for information. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not getting from you, then I'm going to go over because I think this guy said something. So, I'm so grateful that there's a space and a room for people in our industry that are a lot of small studios that can go and just talk to experts and talk to people that have made all those mistakes. So
it's a culture.
It's been life-changing.
It's a culture, but you know what you said, and it's so critical. What you said was you got the
So
greatest
important.
value. Greatest value wasn't necessarily in a classroom. The greatest return on your investment was the ability to talk to other experts in an isolated environment and get answers to the challenges that you face.
Yeah, Calvin, it was willing to show up and say, I'm scared, I'm wrong, I'm losing things, I don't know what I'm doing. And again, it comes back to that willingness to change my lens of focus to be like, what am I struggling with? And not being in a room with your ego, just put it aside and be like, I don't know what I'm doing after 26 years. I don't know what I'm doing. Can somebody help me? And just the care from all the other people there it was just amazing, the support when I was just sort of like looking around for those types of answers. So, and I mean, hats off to SPAC for just continually putting on such an amazing event where it creates a safe, like an incubation area where we can go and just share openly with.
We lost them.
With what's under the kilt. I have nothing to hide. So let's just watch everybody. It was awesome.
Yeah. Hallways, bars, conversations that take place outside of the space, the designated space, are incredibly valuable.
Totally.
And it's a culture. It is a culture that we've been able to create. And it's through the people that do attend, through the speakers, through that volunteer to speak. Come on, that's a wonderful, it's kind of unprecedented in many respects. We do have speakers that say, I want to speak, but you got to pay me. No, because if you're successful, you're willing to share without compensation because you don't fear any competition. I think Lance is on a frozen. He's frozen.
He might be. I know our time with him was getting slim.
Yeah, okay. But I think the point is made. There you go. You're back, Lance. You froze out for
probably for a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
A couple of seconds. Okay, so let's close this out by saying, Lance, thank you so much for your time and energy today. If you were an attendee and you have the Whova app still on your phone and you want to reach out to Lance, you can use the Whova app to send him a message or get his contact information. Yes, the Whova app is there as a resource for you all the way until we open up SPAC 2025.
Hey, when is that going to happen?
Well, early bird registration for SPAC 2025 is in mid-August. We are celebrating our 70th anniversary. So it's going to be quite spectacular. We have a few additional surprises up our sleeve. And for all of you out there who are considering speaking, even thinking about it, maybe you want to lead a roundtable. The application period is May 1st through July 1st. I put the dates down below, and it is on the website. It's also a Google form, very easy. You just need to give us your topic, what area it is, the length of time you need, and a little description. That heads over to our education advisory board. They then will go ahead and read every single application, and they will make their recommendations, and then we begin putting the schedule together. And we hopefully will have that to you by October 1st, once we have contacted all of our speakers and have them committed. Okay.
Yeah, and Corey, I think folks need to know that this is a year-round process. This is not like planning an event. It is a single event at the, in January next year, but quite literally within 30 days of the close of the last conference, we had already signed contracts for the conference, but we were already in the planning phase for what worked, what didn't work, doing a SWOT analysis and seeing what worked, what didn't work, and what were we going to modify and change for next year. We've got some exciting things that we'll announce as soon as everything comes together. We're going to announce, but there's some exciting changes that are going to change the dynamic of the event quite a bit in a very positive light.
Yes. So, Corey, yes. I have one more thing to say is next week we will be live broadcast. We are switching it up a little bit, and we have Michael Rack, who is going to be presenting every third Tuesday of the month, and he is going to be doing OPP, old person photography. He is going to kick off getting ready for our 70th anniversary by interviewing some of the long tried and true veterans in this industry, asking them some really great questions that's going to give us a little bit great of a lead up to our 70th anniversary. So that comes next Tuesday on Tuesday at 2:00. It is broadcast at that time. If you want to type any questions, you can do so, and they will get back to you in the comments after the broadcast has aired. Fantastic. And then, Calvin, we're going to be back the following Tuesday with Leroy. He had a top session away, and his is all about corporate headshots.
Yeah.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks, Calvin and I. Next week, it's OPP with Michael Rack, and we're getting ready for our 70th. We hope you are too.
We got to work on that OPP. They're the OGs of the school photography industry, but OPP, I hope I'm not on the list. I don't need to be. It's wonderful having you guys join us again, as it is every single week. We are here to support you in the industry. We certainly hope that you continue to use the Hoover app. That is the app that you had access to through the conference or at the conference. You can reach out to our vendors. You can reach out to other attendees through that app. And certainly you can review the speaker information for the classes that the speakers presented during the course of the last conference. So we will be continuing to use Hoover in the upcoming year as well. We find it to be an outstanding platform for us. There's no changes there, right, Corey?
No changes whatsoever, and
Good.
it will go live in the Hoover app as soon as registrations kick off. So
Okay.
that's when, as soon as you register, you'll have access to next year's Hoover board, and I'm
There we
sure
go.
Len is going to be right there waiting.
Outstanding. Wonderful. All right, folks, that's it for today. Have a wonderful Tuesday. If you're at the end of your day, bless you. We're in the middle of the day still here in California on the West Coast. But have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and a wonderful spring season. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.